military chief who has now been eliminated. He was the mastermind of the October 7th massacre. His name is Mohammed Dief, the commander of the Hamas military wing. The IDF has announced that the IDF fighter jets struck the area of Khan Yunis, and following an intelligence assessment, it was confirmed that Mohammed Dief was eliminated in the strike. He was the commander of Hamas's military wing and second in command of the Hamas terror group in the Gaza Strip. Now, Dief initiated, planned and also executed the October 7th massacre, in which 1,200 people were killed in southern Israel and 251 hostages were abducted into the Gaza Strip. Now, following the precise IDF and ISA intelligence, the Israeli Air Force fighter jets conducted a precision attack and eliminated Hamas's military chief, Mohammed Dief. He was the one who orchestrated, planned and also executed the October 7th massacre. One of the localities that were hunted and slashed by the Hamas terror groups was the Kibbutz Be'eri, where many residents who were inside their homes, the terrorists barged into their homes and killed each and every one who was living in that community. In fact, Krutat is joining me with the latest details. Krutat, Israel has eliminated the military chief who was the mastermind of the October 7th massacre. Tell us about the latest developments.
Deepak, and this is back-to-back jolt to the Hamas top leadership. We first saw that the political leader of Hamas was assassinated in the capital of Iran, Tehran, and within 24 hours now we are getting confirmation that the military head of Hamas as well was killed in strikes. Now viewers, this was a airstrike carried out by the Israeli Defense Forces all the way back on July 13th, and it is now with intelligence that the Israeli Defense Forces are able to confirm that the strike indeed managed to kill Mohammed Dief, who was the military leader of the Hamas, and now the military has said that in the recent hours that they have received additional intelligence to confirm the death, which has made it completely certain that the top leadership of the military of Hamas has now been eliminated, Deepak. And I'm also being joined by our senior editor Shavan Sen from the Newsroom Live. Shavan, what can you tell us more about the Israeli government's intelligence confirmation?
Well, in fact, this has now been confirmed by the Israeli Defense Forces that the commander of the military wing has been eliminated. Now, who is exactly Mohammed Dief? Now, remember, he is the one who has been working very closely with Yahya, that's the head of Hamas, man who was responsible for the entire October 7th massacre that we witnessed in Israel. He was the chief planner, if I may say so. And if you remember, back in 1994, the suicide bombing that actually took place in Israel, here is the man who was responsible for it. So this is a well-coordinated plan of the Israeli forces. Now, this comes just a day after you've had the political wing head of the Hamas also being eliminated. But the difference here being that so far Israelis have not taken any responsibility as far as the killing of the political wing, the head of the political wing is concerned. The military chief now being eliminated is perhaps another chapter in this entire war between Israel and Hamas. And the fact of the matter is this: Israelis had made it very clear that there is no question of any sort of negotiation when it comes to Hamas. As far as the ceasefire on the ground is concerned, there too, remember, the Israeli government had made it very clear that there is no question of having any sort of negotiation with them, because remember, there are several of the hostages, the Israeli hostages, who are still with the Hamas, and that is the reason why it is important to point out here that the Israeli government is very clear as far as their objectives are concerned. Their objective being is the complete elimination of the Hamas leadership, be it the political wing or the military wing. Important to point out here, Krutat, is that the political wing and the military wing on many occasions did not see eye to eye. Having said that, right now, with Israel taking full responsibility of the elimination of Mohammed Dief, it certainly comes across as a big setback for the Hamas at a time when you've already seen changing situation, particularly coming in from Iran, the kind of condemnation that has come in from Iran. That is the reason why it is important to point out here that this is another chapter as far as the war between Israel and Hamas is concerned.
And while I'm joined by Shavan here, another question that I would like to take with is that in the last 72 hours, the Pentagon Pentagon has also raised alarm that a possible strike on Israel is evident. And Iran's top leaders have also confirmed that the supreme leader of Iran has said that there will be a retaliatory strike against Israel. We saw a rerun of this retaliatory strike all the way back in April when thousands of rockets were launched on Israel, and US was seen as an active defender in the entire effort. Where do we see US coming into play now that the top leadership, both from military standpoint and the political standpoint of Hamas, seems to have been eliminated?
Well, in fact, if you see with Benjamin Netanyahu's recent visit to United States of America, many thought that with the visit to Donald Trump and the changing equations right now, the fact of the matter is this: the Democrats particularly found it very difficult to defend Benjamin Netanyahu and the action that was being carried out in Gaza. The Democrats were certainly on the back foot in terms of the aid that was to be provided. Having said that, the kind of military aid that has been provided by the United States of America is something that Israelis have been cognizant about. How exactly would this continue? As far as Israel is concerned, under Benjamin Netanyahu, despite the dissidents that we have seen in the war cabinet of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu was very clear about the fact that this is a message that he wants to send across, that there is no question of having any sort of negotiation with the Hamas, be it in terms of a ceasefire or, for that matter, any sort of understanding with the Hamas, despite many nations, even India, for that matter, advocating the two-nation theory. Having said that, Israel had set its foot out on as far as the way forward, which was very clear: elimination of the entire leadership. What have we seen in the last few months? There are two fronts that you're looking at. One, with regards to Gaza, particularly the fight with Hamas. The other is in the northern border with the Hezbollah. What we have seen in the last 48 hours is that too, there has been an upscale, particularly with their military leadership also suffering a major setback. You've had a senior military leader of the Hezbollah also being eliminated by the Israelis. So clearly they have made a headwind as far as the war is concerned. Israel perhaps would be satisfying its appetite of the setback that they have seen back on 7th of October, something that they've not been able to come out of. And they've been saying this time and again that we have lost over 1,000 people in Israel. How can even the world expect at this point in time for any changes or any negotiation? So clearly, many would say that right now, perhaps the appetite of the Israelis would have been fulfilled, but the repercussion on the ground, with Iran fuming at this point in time, that you have had after Qasem Soleimani, who was eliminated by the United States of America there. Now you have another elimination that has taken place right on their soil, sends across a wrong message to the leadership of the Iranians, and that is the reason why they are also been fuming right now, Krital.
Indeed, and the territorial sovereignty of Iran is going to be a very critical aspect in this entire situation, where Iran is now fuming and it will seek to have some mode of retaliation. Deepak, that is the sentiment in Tehran right now. That is what is coming from the supreme leader. The US and Israel will be standing by. And I would like to take one more question, Shravan sir, on this, on what would be the possible measures, because now you see Israel is now at the brink of a multi-front war. You have Lebanon up north, you have Iran up east, and you have other forces in Yemen and Syria also who will be actively targeting the IDF forces. So are we now moving towards a multi-front war emerging from the Israel and Hamas conflict that has been ongoing since October 7th?
Well, the situation is going to be extremely volatile. The reason being the changing leadership in the United States of America, particularly with the kind of pressure that the Democrats have been facing to bring an end to the war in Israel, something that the Israelis had made it very clear. Having said that, right now, yes, it's a big win for the Israelis. They have been able to eliminate the think tank of the Hamas and the military power of Hamas. Both have suffered a huge dent, and the fact that they have been able to clear up the entire Rafah area, one would say that they have had a major military success. On the ground, yes, it is perhaps an upscale, but what really happens diplomatically, with Israel being cornered for a very long time, hoping that there would be some sort of a ceasefire that they would agree upon, but that does not, one cannot see that in the near future. But having said that, how would things really change? in terms of the Middle East now reacting to this entire matter. There would be growing pressure on Israel right now that their objectives to a greater extent have already been fulfilled. The fact that negotiations were already underway in Qatar with the Hamas leadership in terms of bringing back the hostages, that too, perhaps there has been a significant change there. So there would be a growing pressure right now on Israel to perhaps step back and let peace prevail in the region.
Indeed, and so now to quickly round up the entire situation, in the last 24 hours, we have seen severe protests emerge out throughout the Middle East region. We saw refugees coming out from the Palestinian camps in the Lebanon city of Tyre. We saw people coming out in huge numbers in Tehran, at the Tehran University, where even today the Supreme Leader of Iran and the President of Iran were present for the funeral of the slain general of the of the Hamas that was killed. So Shivangi, the situation in the Middle East absolutely remains tense, and all eyes will now be on Iran on what kind of a retaliatory strike will they go after.